Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Talks with T. But today I'm going to be interviewing a 100 meter and 200 meter GB athlete. His name is Deji Tobais, and I'm very excited about this interview. So stay with me and catch us in a moment. Hi guys, so welcome back. So I've got the lovely Deji. Is it Tobais?
Deji
Yeah.
Tobais,
I was gonna make sure because you know they say your name.
Sometimes it's the way it's spelled.
Yeah.
It's the way it's pronounced. So if you pronounce the A properly,
Yeah.
it's Tobais.
Okay.
So,
Tobais.
yeah, Tobais.
So you are a 100 meter and 200 meter athlete,
Yep.
GB athlete. Which one is your favourite event? Or your main event?
See, 100 has been my go-to event
Yeah.
since I was 13, and the 200 was just like the secondary event. But I find like the 200 over the years is more fun because it's less predictable. Like when you're coming off the bend and down the home straight, I find the 200 way more fun. The 100's a little bit, it's fun, but it's a little bit more like go. Whereas the 200 you can kind of pace yourself a little.
So do you get more nervous for the 100?
Definitely. Over the last, I'd definitely say last 18 months, I've had to admit to myself that I overthink the 100 way more than I need to, and that sometimes when it comes to the big races, I probably, choke a little bit, and that's just all coming from overthinking of how I need to run the 100 and what I need to do at certain points in the race. And even though all of that is good and that's good for my focus, I just think I do that a little bit too much. Yeah.
What do you do to, I guess, relax or to get yourself into that zone?
I just try. Well, recently I've just tried different cues that help me just kind of deviate from overthinking and just try and calm my nerves and just calm everything down really. So I listen to music, obviously, like most athletes do, and sometimes I don't try to listen to too much like up-tempo music like grime and all of that stuff too close to the race. And I just try and chill out as much as I can really.
That's interesting. So I want to, just for people that don't know, because there'll be different people that watch this, just give, people just think, okay, you're going to run 100, it's a straight line, like what do you have to think about? Like there's nothing to think about. So what do, as a sprinter, just for the most novice person that doesn't know anything about athletics, what is an athlete trying to achieve in 100 meters?
Okay, so everyone's different, and that's a good question. And from my experience, obviously, you get the regular Joe blog saying, it can't be that hard, hard race you, all of that sort of stuff. But the 100 is actually way more technical than people give it credit for. So you've got the first 3 steps in the start, and then from there you've got the transition phase, and then from the transition phase you've got the max velocity, the sprinting. So there's, the way I break it down into like those four components, but there'll be other coaches that can break it down into 7. And in the 200 it's even, a little bit more technical, but the 200 is a bit of fitness that comes into play. So 100 isn't just running as fast as you can, like that is complete nonsense, even though to some degree it is, but there's a lot of things that you need to accomplish in training and repeat over and over to get it right. So you are, I would say, you are definitely an expert in your, I guess, in your field now. How long have you been doing track for? I've been doing track since I was 10. I'm 26 now, so 16 years. And for me, I'd love to think that I'm an expert, but every day... I guess you're always learning, but you do know 16 years is a long time to be doing your sport. So tell us about how you got into athletics. How did you start? For me, I got into athletics when in 2003, when I had a conversation with my dad off the back of a football tournament. My team won the football tournament. It was like a local competition, but my dad said, you know what, why don't you give athletics a go? I wasn't playing that much, even though I was playing some games, I wasn't playing that much, and my dad kind of wasn't in favour of people deciding how much minutes I get on the pitch and blah blah blah. So
what that is.
do you know what I mean? Yeah, but it's like that. So I said, you know what, I'll give athletics a go.
Yeah.
I went down to my local track and did a pentathlon of all things. And then I won the 100, 200 hurdles, long jump and high jump. I didn't like the high jump too much, and I didn't like the hurdles. I didn't like the barriers. It was just too scary for me. But I liked the 100, 200 and the long jump. They were quite straightforward. And the rest is history, really.
So what area, so just tell people a bit about so what area was that in? You're not from London, are you?
Yeah, well, no, I'm not from London. I say that I'm not from London. I grew up in Hornsey.
Okay.
From the age of 3 to about 8.
Okay.
And then from 8 years old, I moved to Luton. And I was in Luton for about 4 years. And then I moved to a village called Rushden, which is just south of Northampton.
Yeah.
And that's where I stayed for the majority of my athletics career, training at Bedford. And then from Bedford I went to then train at Windsor and Eton. So I'm a bit of a traveller, but yeah, I'm originally from London, but I grew up outside of London in Luton.
So your club is Windsor Town Eton?
Yeah, Windsor Town.
So what, in terms of when you started compared to now, how was your training progress? And yeah, start with training. How's your training progress?
So I'd say when I was younger, I was doing a lot less. Like athletics was purely a hobby.
Yeah.
I trained twice a week, maybe if that, when I was 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
When I was 16, I decided, okay, I need to up the ante if I want to go faster. So I started adding strength and conditioning to my weekly track session. So I'd then train 3 times a week.
Yeah.
But then in 2008, I moved from training in Bedford to training in Windsor with my current coach Simon Duberly, and training stepped up another gear. I started doing longer runs than I'd ever done before. I was gymming once a week, doing a circuit on a Saturday, so it went from being like twice a week to 4 times a week in the space of 10 months, I believe. And I saw huge benefits from it. And then since then, I've gone from training 4 times a week to 5 times a week to 6 times a week, back down to 4 times a week, because I feel like that's, well, 4/5. That's where I feel like I get the most out of training without feeling flat.
Yeah. So how important is recovery for you?
Oh, for me, recovery is just as important as training.
Yeah.
I feel like without being boring, you just need to try and get your body in as much of a rest state as possible after training, because training takes so much out of you, and people don't actually appreciate how much training can take out of you, especially if you're training like I used to, probably 5 hours a day. So yeah, for me, recovery is like a big thing.
Yeah. So you spoke about, so you've been with the same coach throughout your whole career?
So okay, I went from training with a coach in Bedford, and then I went to Windsor. And in 2011, when I started university in Hertfordshire, I moved to Lee Valley to train. And then I was training in Lee Valley for 3-4 years, and then I moved back to Windsor when I finished.
So in terms of, you know how you spoke about how you had to step up the training, you wanted to get faster. Was that because of the results you were seeing and you wanted better? Like what were your results? Let's talk about. So you started under 13s? Under 13, under 15, under 17.
Yeah.
What was that period like for you?
Right. It was a bit of a blur. I think.
I remember you. So
yeah.
I'm going to interview one of my brothers, and he was. I used to think you lot were the same age, but I thought you're obviously older than him. I didn't know this them times. But you obviously, it was like Deji was the guy. He was the guy them times, isn't it? Yeah. So I remember you from then, because obviously my brother was like, oh, he's like, you were fast, isn't it? So yeah, talk about those years.
So under 13, I was at Bedford training twice a week, twice a week. It was weird because I just enjoyed turning up to the track, socialising with the people that I was training with, and then going to race on the weekend. I think the fastest I ran as an under 13 was like 11.8, at the time I didn't know whether that was like nationally quite quick or I was so naive to anything going on nationally because under 13s don't get any national championships. And the first time I kind of got a sense of running against people like not only in a region but nationally was when I was under 15. And transitioning from under 13 to under 15 was like a huge shock to me because all the boys started maturing, developing their pubes and all of that sort of stuff. And for me, I had to adapt to the way.
So were you one of the fast developers, or were you, still skinny as Warnie?
No, I was definitely skinny.
Yeah.
But I was tall for my age. I was I think 5'9".
How tall are you now?
I'm 6 foot.
Yeah.
I haven't grown that much since I was about 13. But I was at 5'9" at 13. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I was a little bit of an early developer. I was 5'9" at 13, and I remained at that height and a similar build all the way through until I was about 16, 17 when I grew another couple of inches. So yeah, I did develop a little bit early, I'd say. But yeah, I think that's contributed to why I was running fast at a young age.
So you were saying about it being a shock at under 15, you went to...
So yeah, it was just a bit of a shock because everyone else was now catching up to my sort of times and my standard, and I was starting to get beaten in races. So it was like trying to adjust to how to deal with bad races and dealing with losing, and then trying to make it a positive so that I can actually learn from them, if that makes sense. So yeah, it was from under 13 to under 15 was definitely a shock, and then from under 15 to under 17 was another shock. But I felt like when I was younger I dealt with it a lot better and a lot easier because I was still growing at that age, and I was growing with everyone else. So I kind of bided my time. I was like, okay, I'm bottom year under 17. I don't have that much to prove. Just let athletics take its natural course, and don't really get overawed or don't feel like I need to accomplish it. Just run as fast as I possibly can. And that's the mentality that I maintained all the way right through to, I'd say, bottom year under 20. I feel like under 20, I started to put a lot more pressure on myself and expect more from myself.
Is that because of what you'd achieved up to that point? So just give us a little summary of what you had achieved up to that point.
Right. Under 15, I finished 7th at English schools, bottom year. Second year, under 15, I finished 2nd in the 100 metres. Under 17, I finished 4th in the English schools final, bottom year. And the England Championships, I think I finished 3rd behind Antonio and William Ife. I think. That's just off the top of my head.
So now up to let's go to under 20s now. So when did you get your first GB international?
First GB international vest for me was 2009 at the European Juniors in Serbia.
We were together.
Yeah, we was in that team. And that was the very first time that I was a part of the GB squad.
What was that experience like?
It was surreal. I'd experienced something similar before because I went to the Commonwealth Youth.
So that
and that was the year before.
Was that your first year on 20?
Commonwealth Youth was.
When did you go?
That was in October 2008. October 2008. And
that's England. Just for people
that's England. That's not.
That was his first international. Yeah. How was that?
That was good. I finished 4th for the Commonwealth Youth, and that was like a great experience for me because it was the first time that I travelled outside the country without my family. It was like meeting new people, being in a team environment. I'd never experienced any of that before, other than English schools, and it was surreal for me. But then because I finished 4th for the Commonwealth Youth, I made a promise to myself that going into European Juniors next year, I can't not come back with a medal. So fast forward a year, went to the European Juniors. We got a bronze medal in the 4x1 relay. And I just made a promise to myself as a junior at least that I'd continue to build on whatever successes that I had from the previous year.
Yeah. So at that point, what was your PB at that time?
In 2009, my PB was 10:43. I was 17.
Yeah.
For me, I thought that was fast. And looking back on it, and I think I won't ever appreciate my personal best until like I'm completely done with athletics. But I thought that was fast. I thought I could have run faster. I think as I was developing, I just it just seemed like everything was just a bit of a blur at them times. Like it was just fun. Athletics was just fun. You just turned up to training. You saw everyone at competitions, and everyone was just like having a laugh, and it wasn't all serious. And
when did it for you start to get a bit more serious?
Under 23s, without a shadow of a doubt. I'd say 100% under 23s.
Okay, so what was talk about your successes as under 23 and why the pressure that pressure that you didn't actually start to put on yourself.
So under 23s is where the transition between under 20s, as you know, and under 23s is where a lot of people start. Okay, I'm in real life now. I need a job. I need to make money. Blah 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 blah. And under 23s for me, the transition from juniors to under 23s was okay. I need to now start performing world-class times in order to make this a reality, if that makes sense. So whether positively or negatively, I then put that pressure on myself to do probably beyond what I could possibly do at that point. And at under 23 level, that's when people start making a name for themselves. Typically, I mean, Usain Bolt, when he broke the world record the first time, he was 21. So again, that's the tipping point for most people, as you know, when they're trying to break out from being a junior to a senior.
So what were so you were obviously balancing, how did life change for you at that point? So obviously there's a point you finished uni, did you start working?
No, so first year under 23 I went to uni.
Oh, okay.
I went to Hertfordshire, and I was trying to just balance developing a career in business and sports management, because at the time I wanted to be a sports agent. So that's why I did that field of study. Okay. And then it was just a case of trying to balance university and training. Training became more serious, and training was a bit more full time. And then obviously university was full time as well, but those two were just what took over my life at that point. And again, it was just trying to make athletics a lot more of a priority than it probably had been before. Whereas as a junior, I just saw athletics as, this is fun. I'm seeing my friends. It became okay. This is now work.
You did well in under 23s though. So talk about that.
In the first year under 23, I wasn't a part of the final four. But that year we went to the European under 23 champs. We won the bronze medal. Bronze or silver? Bronze or silver? It was silver. I think it was silver.
I think you did get
silver. Yeah. Because I think
Czech Republic one, right?
No, it was the Germans.
Australia, huh? 2011.
Yeah. I think it was the Germans. I think it was the Germans.
2011, I was there as well.
I know. But I feel like it was the Germans.
Are you talking about who won?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was meant what country they were in.
Oh no.
I meant the India Ostrava. Obviously they didn't win.
Yeah, we went to Ostrava. Sorry, we went to Ostrava. But yeah, we got silver in the relay. I didn't run the individual that year due to politics. Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But and then 2 years later, went to the European Under 23 champs again. Won a silver in 100, and we won the gold in the relay this time, and broke the European Under 23 record. So I'd say my Under 23 years were quite good championship wise.
You said you shared that your PB at, was it when did I ask you? Under 20, what
Under
your
20.
PB was?
Yeah.
10:44 at the time. So how did it progress in terms of that?
So from under 20, first year under 20, I ran 10:43, and at the end of under 23s, my PB was 10:18. Yeah, 10:18. And in some people's view, it might look like I didn't develop as much as I could have, because obviously I was showing early potential from a junior age. But I think everyone develops at their own sort of rate and their own sort of pace, as you know. And maybe that's another thing that I put pressure on myself with, because I feel like I demand faster times from myself, as anyone does. So yeah, that's a really common thing as an athlete, that you start progressing and somehow you just like exponentially think this is how it's going to increase. If you could, I guess, go back, and what would you tell yourself during that period? If I could go back 6-7 years, what I would say to myself is to not overthink the process that you're currently under, and just enjoy it like you did when you were a youth. Because once you start thinking, okay, this would work, you start putting unnecessary pressure on yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that pressure, but everyone deals with that level of pressure differently. And some people, as I said, some people deal with that pressure way better than others. And I was probably one of those that didn't deal with it as well as I could have, just through lack of confidence in myself or whatever. But yeah,
the athletics is really it's so mental. People don't understand how mental the sport actually is. How would you say you've grown in that area throughout your career?
Athletics, as you know, athletics pushes and pulls you all over the place. For me, I've just over the years taken a bit of a backseat mentally, not tried to overthink and overcomplicate races, not tried to get spooked by competition. It's difficult sometimes, because sometimes you can't help. Then, for example, if you're racing abroad, sometimes the meet promoter will put out the lane draws the day before, so you start looking at the lane draws and you start thinking, okay, this person's run this at this time, this person's run this year, I'm in this lane, that person is this. Yeah, you start thinking of all sorts of stuff that you don't need to be thinking about. And I think as I've grown up, I've just cared a lot less about that, or tried to care a lot less about that. And yeah, I've just tried to have the same mentality that I had when I started. I think that, for me anyway, that's a key, to just maintain that mentality of this is fun. There's not that much pressure on you. Just go there and have a blast.
That's really important. So as a senior, well, I guess you've had a taste of senior world championship. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I went to the 2013 World Champs. That is a big learning curve. It was very surreal, because it felt very much like the European Champs.
Really?
It felt very much the European under 23s and juniors. It felt very much like World Juniors.
Is that because of who was there, or was that because... So are you saying that going to those championships as a junior and under 23 are actually, I guess, good training ground?
Yeah, 100%. I'd say going to the youth and junior champs, age group champs basically, definitely a big learning curve, because when you go to world champs, it's no different. The only difference is the fastest people in the world, like the actual fastest people are there. So the setup's the same. I mean, obviously there's a bigger crowd. There's a bigger crowd, and all the major sponsors are in their own little hub somewhere. But other than that, the hotel environment's the same. Food is the same. Team talks are the same. Everything's the same.
How did that fuel you, I guess, going into your senior career?
It was a big springboard, but I think it was another bit of pressure that I put on myself, because when I made the World Championship team, I said to myself, okay, I need to continue to do this. I can't just be that flash in the pan guy that makes one senior champs and then that's it. But obviously since then I haven't made any champs. So it's a constant battle for me to try and not prove any points or anything, but I have to prove to myself that I deserve whatever comes to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's been really interesting, I guess, even for me, because so often you just know what's going on in your own self, but I guess that's part of the reason for doing these interviews, is that it gives other people a chance to see, like, okay, like I'm not the only person that's going through this, and just even in you sharing, it helps you to think, okay, how to, I guess, think differently or to approach things differently. So that's been really interesting. What are some of your goals now, like going forward? So you spoke about how not putting pressure on yourself, but how do you make goals now? If you have to make them a bit differently.
So I just focus on small goals now.
Yeah.
I focus on goals to achieve in training.
Yeah.
Competition goals, I have a lot less of them because I feel like setting standards and targets for yourself in certain competitions is good, but I feel like when you then don't make a team or you then don't achieve what you want to achieve at those specific championships, everything gets thrown into disrepute and you start doubting yourself. So for me, I just set small goals in training. I set small everyday goals. Just little things that build up my own self-confidence going into whatever I'm doing.
So how are you, confidence-wise, where are you right now?
I had a disappointing race on the weekend, so I'm not on top of the world. I'm getting better. Okay, let me just jump on that. What are you going to do to bring yourself out of that? What do you do to, I guess, refocus and keep going forward? Because obviously you do have big goals, and we believe that you will achieve those. So what are you going to do now? Like, for example, when you have these disappointments, and I guess for you, like you said, since World Champs, you haven't had another one yet, but obviously there's still otherwise you would have given up by now, believing that you are going to get there again. What do you do to what's your main go-to to pick yourself back up again? Talking to my family. Talking. I feel like you kind of touched on it earlier, but I feel like sometimes individual sports, especially athletics, can be a bit isolating, where you're in your own thoughts, and you don't have an outlet to speak about any problems that you feel like you may have, or any ideas that you want to run by someone. And for me, talking to my family helps me settle what's going on in my mind. Obviously they'll critique me where they need to critique me, but they'll then, instead of the ship being rocky, they'll steady the ship for me. So I feel like a cue of mine is, I guess it's a bit cliche to just keep running back to your family, because at the end of the day, there'll be one day, unfortunately, where they won't be there to help you. But for me, just talking to someone, if it's not family, friends, whoever, athletes that might be going through the similar things. And that's another thing, I don't think us as athletes talk enough to each other about the mental side of athletics, because everyone goes through a lot of disappointments, and it's something that if you understand what someone's going through, because you live what they're doing, they can give you advice that you might not have heard. So for me, just talking to whoever you really need to.
Thank you so much, Deji. I really enjoyed the interview. I hope you guys have enjoyed this interview. And I have a hot 10 to end this interview. So quick fire. Don't be trying to long it like some people. Just give it answers.
Alright, cool.
Okay, so sweet or savoury?
Savoury.
Would you rather be too hot or too cold?
Too cold.
Too cold? What's the last thing that you ate?
Jollof rice.
I'm about to say babies. Twitter or Instagram?
Instagram.
You're stranded alone on an island and you're only allowed 2 items. What would they be?
Satellite and...
Satellite? What do you mean? Huh?
Satellite. Okay, so if you're stranded on an island, you need satellite so you can...
So that's your item?
Yeah. I don't need clothes if I'm stranded. No one's going to see me.
Alright, cool. Do you sleep with your socks on or off?
Off. What? Who does that?
People do.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Oh my God.
If you could live anywhere else in the world, where would it be?
No. Ooh. Live.
Yeah.
Somewhere hot. Somewhere hot. That there's too many countries.
Yeah.
Somewhere hot.
What's your favourite smell?
Smell. Perfume.
Any particular?
Yeah,
Perfume?
just like perfume.
Do you wear perfume?
No.
Just
no,
checking.
no.
Because you know some people.
I wear cologne.
Okay.
Oh yeah, aftershave, but no.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Flight.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, and the last question, I need to know if you're person A, B or C. Person A can't roll their tongue. Person B can, like this.
Yeah.
And person C can do the special one, like this. Which one can you do?
I'm person B. I can't do that.
Okay, do the roll. Okay, you're person B. Yeah?
B.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you so
No
much.
problem,
Thank you
no
so
problem.
much for coming on the show. And I just want to remind you guys, let the past motivate you, but use the present to create history. This has been Deji, and I'm Tareema. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye.